Our message today is out of the Gospel of John, chapter 20, starting at verse 1 and then hopping down to verse 11 through 16. Amen. The first day of the week comes Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. So she's coming in the dark. She comes to the grave, and the grave is open. Verse 11. But Mary stood without at the sepulchre, weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre. I'm going to stop right there. Easy to skip over the important stuff. She came in the dark, and she's standing at the open grave. That's a metaphor for us. When we get disappointments in life, it's a time of darkness. And we think Jesus is dead in life. Where's Jesus? Where's God? Where is he in my life? How could this happen? I'm a child of God. How could this happen? There's lots of things that happen in life that we don't understand. We usually think of them as negative when they occur. And so it is, she came in a time of darkness. It's interesting because the Bible says that God dwells in the thick darkness, not just in the dark, in the thick darkness. Where is he? He's in the middle of that darkness. Right? It's not dab in the middle of the darkness.
Amen.
Why is that? Well, because when you get to the middle, any way after that is you're on your way out. He's right in the middle of it, okay? And why is he in the middle of the darkness? Because that's the easiest place to find him. Now, that might sound strange, but it's like, you know what? When life is good and you're happy and things are going well, it's like, who's looking for Jesus? Nobody's looking for Jesus. When things turn dark, then you get serious about searching him out. So here it is. It's a time of darkness for her, and she comes to an open grave. Second problem that we have, she interprets that as a bad thing. When things don't go the way we want them to, we automatically assume this is a bad thing. Sometimes God is saving us from our own desires. Okay? Why? So we think that it's bad, but it's actually a good thing because our own desires, we don't know, is going to lead us to someplace we don't need to go. And other times it's like we think it's good. No, it's not good at all. She comes and it's like you come and the grave is open. She assumes that that's negative. So the result that you see is negative. You got to ask yourself, why do I see it's negative? What's God doing in this situation? See, we look at the result. We say, well, this isn't what I was expecting. It's a bad thing. The first thing we need to do is to get into the presence of God and say, "What? I need your perspective on this. What are you doing? Actually, I should have never got to this place in the first place. Why? Because if I'm really in the presence of God, he's not going to bring me to a place where I see I didn't get the result I wanted and I'm negative about it. I do think, for example, like you can say, well, what about David? When he had his son with Bathsheba and God said, he's going to die. And David fasted and prayed for 7 days, and the baby died. That's exactly what God said was going to happen. Why? Because God cannot prosper sin. That's why the baby had to die. But what happened after that? David got up and said, well, I can go to him, but he can't come back to me. He got up, cleaned up, went on with things. And that's the attitude we're supposed to have. When we really push for something and it doesn't happen, it's like, don't get angry with God. It's like, okay. He said no. Let's move on. Can't stay there. Can't go back into history. So, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre. Aha! Mary stood without the sepulchre, weeping. As she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and seeth two angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. Well, you know, most people, that would spark some curiosity, I gotta think. But you know, when you're in a really funky place, you just can't understand what's going on. Yeah. So she sees two angels, but it's like, so what does that mean? She's grief-stricken. So she's not thinking rationally. Most of us aren't thinking rationally when we're struck with grief, right? Yeah. And they say unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She said unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. Now, in one sense it sounds rational. She's weeping because the body of Jesus is gone. But when you get a little bit closer to it, it sounds crazy. This is not Jesus. This is the body of Jesus, okay? She's looking for the body of Jesus, and it's not there. But who wants the body of Jesus? What do you want the body of Jesus? He can't help you. If he really is dead, he can't help you. Anybody who's dead can't help you at all. They're dead, right? So, it doesn't make sense. So why is she worked up about a body not being there? Especially because what we know is coming. They have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. Amazing. Well, not amazing in the sense that he walked with the two men on the road to Emmaus. They talked with him, and that he explained about how he, right from Genesis all the way forward, where he was in the scripture, and he sat down, broke bread, and then boom, disappeared. And I said, we should have known that, because, wasn't there spirits burning inside of us when we were talking to him? It's like, but so if we have to understand when we're resurrected, we all will get resurrected bodies like Jesus had, like Jesus has now. And right now, our soul and our spirit conform to this body. That is, when your body says you're going to go to sleep, you don't really have much say. You're going to get, when your body says, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, well, you got to get with the program. So your body kind of calls a lot of the shots now. But in eternity, it's not like that. The eternal immortal bodies that we have don't get hungry, they don't get tired, they don't get thirsty, they don't need rest. And they conform to whatever you want the body to be. That's why they saw Jesus and they didn't know Jesus. And here it was, they saw Jesus and didn't know Jesus. But there's another side to this too. It's like, he spoke to her. On the road to Emmaus, when they came to a point and God revealed himself and he showed himself. And he did here too. But it's like, when you're really full of grief, you can't see Jesus. You can't see Jesus working in your life. You can't see what Jesus is doing in your life. Because you're all tied up with you and what you didn't get. Jesus said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She comes to see the body of a dead Jesus, and here's the live Jesus standing in front of her, and she can't see him. Okay? And it's relevant for us, because we're busy looking at the corpse of what we believe we should have or what should happen. And here's Jesus standing there, and he's trying to talk to you, and he says, get out of my way, I'm looking at my corpse here. I'm looking at the corpse of my plans, okay? Yeah. Don't bug me. And you know that it was Jesus. He said, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? And that's a good question. What are you crying for, and what do you want? It's a simple question. Yeah. It sounds also very male. Women don't usually talk like that, right? What do you want? And what are you looking for? Why are you crying, and what do you want? That really helps to cut through things, doesn't it? And that's what God's saying is right now. What do you want? And what are you crying about? Not to say that you don't have problems. We all have problems. If you're walking the face of the earth and you don't have problems, you're sick. Everybody's got problems. She's supposing him to be the gardener. This is Jesus. Oh, you must be the gardener. I like that. Wow. Said unto him, Sir, if you have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Now that's a grand gesture. That's a noble gesture. This is a woman that's going to pick up the body of a man and carry him back to where he's supposed to be. And it's like, wow. Okay. Grand gesture. Bad idea. And Jesus said to her, Mary. Just her name. Mary. God's talking our name to us all the time. Just try to get our attention. Very soft voice. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. He cut through all of that, all of her weeping, all of her desire, and just called her name Mary. And you know, in the midst of our problems, in the midst of our destruction, in the midst of our weeping, he's there to just simply speak our voice. Why does he do that? Why did he speak her name? To let her know that he had a personal contact, a personal connection with her. It's all about relationship with Jesus Christ. It's not about what he can do for us. He can do everything for us. He does.
Yeah.
You got clothes on your back. You got food in your stomach. You got here and you got a roof over your head because Jesus Christ made provision for you.
Amen.
It's as simple as that. So, he speaks her name and says, Mary. And that says everything. It's like we have a connection. We have a relationship. And when you have Jesus, you have nothing to weep about. You may not have everything that you want. You may not even think that you have everything that you need, but you have everything you need now. And Jesus is there to trust to get everything you need. And everything you need is Jesus. That is, he gives you the peace, he gives you the joy, he gives you everything. He leads you beside the still waters and into the green pastures, and he restores your soul. Psalm 23 says.
Yeah.
He doesn't forget about part of you. He ministers to the whole of you, body, soul, and spirit. Unfortunately, a lot of churches don't do that anymore. But that is what Jesus is there to do. And he speaks your name because he knows you. And whatever you're weeping about, it doesn't matter. And whatever you're seeking, it doesn't matter. Because he's there to wipe away your tears and to meet your needs. And he's going to do that, even if you don't ask him. He still knows your needs, and he's still there to take care of them. And that's my message today.